A few years ago, I had this amazing dream where my entire bedroom was covered in butterflies. They were everywhere. There was not a single space in my room that didn't have a butterfly. There were so many of them until it actually scared me. And then I realized that I didn't need to be scared because they had all come to bring me a message. And the message was that life is never going to be the same again. You're about to be transformed. And it wasn't too long after that I got invited to go to the mayor's office to be a loaned executive from Mercer University, and then eventually went to work at Wesleyan, and then just one thing led to another. So my life was never the same after that dream. And I wrote a little note somewhere that said I needed to think about bears and butterflies. I'd been collecting teddy bears. I mean, my room's full of bears already, and then here were the butterflies. And I always loved butterflies, but that was the first time and the only time I've ever had a dream that even had a butterfly in it. Bears and Butterflies, a way to listen to your heart, is about listening to what is in your unconscious and having the courage to follow those messages so that you can be empowered by the new energy that's generated out of getting to know your own self better. The whole notion of the book, the whole notion of what I talk about is self-empowerment. Self-empowerment that comes from knowing who you are, and that you don't have to be afraid, because if you're not afraid of yourself, you don't tend to be afraid of other people. The bear, which is a wonderful symbol for steadiness and sturdiness and protectiveness and introspection, and then the butterfly, which is much more fragile, but who goes through all those changes, first a caterpillar and then all of the things that the butterfly goes through. And then here you get this beautiful creature that doesn't stay around long, which really symbolizes, in addition to transformation, the whole business of journey. I sort of always thought about myself as being kind of a bear when it came to my children, because I always was very protective of them. And you think of bears as being protective, but they also hibernate. They go away, they go into the cave, they go to sleep. So that need I have for going inside of myself and being still and paying attention to what I find there is very representative of the bear. And so those two images together have just sort of fueled my journey. I grew up on a farm in Arkansas with my father, who was illiterate, and my mother, who graduated from college the same year that I graduated from high school. So I grew up in the juxtaposition between an illiterate father and a mother who had this incredible thirst for education. And I learned to navigate my way in between those two people and to respect them. My daddy used to let me sit on his lap and read to him, even though he couldn't read the books. He listened to me, and I was a little daddy's girl. So that was really a big deal for me to have him appreciate my ability to read. I went off from Arkansas to California to college and graduated from Pepperdine College in 1970, and then decided that I really wanted to live in the South, so I came back to the South and eventually ended up going to Atlanta University to get a master's degree in social work, and then after that to Emory to get a PhD in psychology and African American women's literature. So it's been kind of an interesting journey with weaving a lot of life experience in the midst of the continual pursuit of education. I think that there is a deep hunger in the hearts of every human being to find their own home inside of themselves. But I don't know that people even always know that's what that is, and they certainly don't know how to do it. And so what we hear from the culture is, if you buy one more refrigerator, if you get one more tube of lipstick or one more bottle of perfume, that'll do it. You may in fact buy a tube of lipstick if that's what you really want to do, but there's a little deeper thing here that you need to consider. And I hope that my writing, my speaking will make a contribution to foster the notion that life is about more than materialism. Life is about more than power, that we are not just physical people running around, that we're both physical and spiritual, and that if we want to have a good quality of life, we need to acknowledge both of those things. Life is about energy, and human beings have energetic systems, and we have an amount of energy that gets us through any day or any amount of our life or whatever. And we have situations and people and even sometimes our own thought processes that take up energy. And we have to decide how we're going to let our energy be used. And there are people who just become like vampires. I mean, they suck the energy out of you, and you can be with them for a few minutes and you realize you don't feel as good as you did before they came. Or, you can talk to them on the phone, your day is going perfectly well, but by the time you get off the phone, you feel like you need to go back to bed. It can be family, it can be friends, it can be people you work with, it can be repetitive situations that keep sucking your energy away. Again, it leads us back to having to then try to fix ourselves. So we got to take pills, we got to drink, we got to shop, we got to find new partners or whatever, rather than dealing with, we need to clean our life up. And if you had a real vampire around sucking your blood out, you'd get rid of them. And so you need to get rid of the energy vampires. But in a loving way too, because they are in our lives for a reason, to teach us to take care of ourselves, to teach us to stand up for ourselves, because everything that comes to you is there to teach you something. I'm very, very interested in spirituality and interested in helping people to be in touch with the spiritual, because I think that the spiritual, the psychological, that is really where life is lived. There's this amazing notion of people having a shadow, which is unconscious. And if you don't deal with what's in your unconscious, it will just deal with you and kind of have free reign in your life. And connecting to the spiritual part of yourself helps you to get in touch with what is there, what is in your shadow. And then you integrate all of that so that you go through life as a whole person, empowered by all of yourself, rather than trying to hold back some part while you put this part out here to go and live. If you can imagine like wearing a coat but didn't put yourself in it. I keep a spiritual discipline of silence and journaling, and there's great joy in doing that. My soul likes that. I think the soul likes discipline. If you just are frivolously going through life, I don't think that brings the same kind of joy that would come if you had some discipline. One of the best tools that anybody can have for their journey is gratitude. And one of the best ways to make sure you don't forget what you're grateful for is to keep a little gratitude journal. And while everybody may not be as enamored with writing as I am, I do think that writing a few lines in some place every day of thanksgiving, just simply being able to see and walk and smell and taste, and just the things that we take for granted every day, to be able to have a sense of gratitude about those things puts you in a different kind of frame of mind. But then after journaling, some disciplined practice of keeping silence, having some space in the day where you sit and be reflective, exercise, good nutrition, and getting enough rest. All of those are tools that are important to help people be able to live well. And to live well means that you're integrated and you allow your spiritual side and your physical side to be fed and cared for so they can work together in harmony. It's so important to understand the connection between all human beings. And so I try to write in a way that my writing is reflective of that, because when you get right down to it, we're all on the same kind of path, trying to find out how to make sense out of life on this planet.